Hello, everybody. Today we're going to begin learning about advanced straight lettering. Last time we were together, we finished up the more basic bubble lettering practice. And today we're going to make things a little bit, or upgrade things a little bit more. You want to make sure you have your ink guard. And let's turn to the next page and put the ink guard underneath this page. And we're going to take some notes. In these notes, we're going to break down the overall process we used for each of these types of lettering. So on the top over here with your Onyx pen, go ahead and write lettering process. The first step that we did in each of these is we put down some kind of pencil sketch. And particularly when it came to the second and third example over here, that initial pencil sketch was done in single strokes. After we got those pencil sketches in, what we did next was we kind of thickened or quote unquote inflated them. In the example with the bubble lettering, the basic bubble lettering, if we had a pencil stroke that looks like this, then what we went and did was covered it with an elongated oval. For the Rome and the basic straight lettering, how we treated that was we got a straight line and put a box around it. There's many other ways to do this. If you have a stroke, slight variation on this second one is you have a box but with varying thicknesses. You might have a box with rounded corners. You might have a box that has rounded corners, but then wherever you encounter an edge that's fighting against gravity, maybe there's like a little ooze happening, some dripping. The third thing we did after we thickened things out, we moved on to a different media and we outlined things in ink. And the last step was we added some details, mainly in the form of shadows, textures, and other shapes, some minor shapes. The process for advanced straight lettering is actually exactly the same. The only difference is you're going to see that we spend more time in step 1 and 2. So we spend more time in the beginning stages for advanced lettering. Hopefully you've been copying down these notes. Give it a pause and finish this off if you need. And once you're done, go ahead, turn the page, move the ink guard, and then let's give some advanced lettering a little bit of practice. So take your pencil. We're only going to work with the top portion of this page. Leave some room on the bottom half for a follow-up activity. First, what I'd like you to do is lightly sketch out a big capital A. Once you do that, we're going to start to make some modifications to this skeleton. We are still here, right? We've established a pencil sketch, and we're still using just single strokes. But instead of just saying, okay, this is what I'm going to work with, we're going to actually change things up. Let me zoom things in a bit. So this first stroke that we put down here, instead of it just being a single pencil stroke, let's add a little bend to it. What that means is you're choosing a portion of it to kind of go from a straight A to B situation to taking a detour and adding an elbow to things. So that, what we added there, is called a bend. This line over here, the bridge, go ahead and extend this out just a little bit so that it continues beyond this line. What we added just there, that is an extension. Up top over here where we see the sharp corner of the A, go ahead, add a line that's kind of lopping it off right there. You can use your eraser to cut that off. What we just added there is a cap. Finally, the third type of modification that we want to get familiar with is at the endpoints of these two strokes, you can add another little addition here. These items we call tabs. So bends, caps, extensions, and tabs are part of the kind of vocabulary you want to get familiar with when it comes to more advanced lettering styles and setting up the skeleton for them. It's at this stage, everyone, where you want to start making modifications to the angles of things, to the lengths of things, because right now is the part where it's easiest to change stuff. So maybe you don't so much like the angle of this bridge, or you want it to come a little bit lower. Go ahead and make that change right now before committing anything to that second step where we're going to thicken things out. Okay. Generally, you want your skeleton to look aesthetically pleasing to you before you thicken things out. If it doesn't quite work with single strokes, it's probably not going to work very well thickened out either. Once you arrive at a point where you're happy with what the skeleton you've got, then we can go ahead and move on to the second step of thickening or inflating each of these single strokes. Let's keep things on the simpler side because we're still practicing and choose this third method. It's a box, but it just doesn't stay the same thickness all throughout. So, stroke by stroke, you want to thicken or inflate it using box shapes, except this time, the thickness of the box is variable. For instance, over here, I could start inflating these strokes with a thinner kind of box out so that there's some contrast. We start wide over here at the cap, thin things out over here, but perhaps it gets wider and wider by the time it gets to the tab on the bottom. See if I can make things consistent on the other side. Have things bow out like this. And then finally, the extension over here. Again, while things are still in pencil is when you want to make any modifications, if any. Once you're happy with that, then you can move on to the third step of outlining things in ink. So go ahead, switch to the fine point Sharpie. And let's hit those outermost lines. tip for you. It is easiest usually to turn the media or turn the handbook like you see me doing here and draw these straight white lines as small little verticals. You want to reposition your media to work with your body. Usually that works a lot better than the other way around. So I'm going to make some adjustments to some of these labels over here. So the bend moved down to about here. The cap also moved up a bit, so I want to point it in the right direction. The extension remained in about the same position, so that's good to go. The tab, I just want to move the label out of the way so it's a little cleaner. This capital A that we just drew out, if we were to finish it out with details and everything, we would be erasing the skeleton inside. But I want this to be more of a reference for you to kind of track the fact that we started in the same place. With this pencil sketch, we just spent more time making modifications to it, these 4 modifications, before thickening it out. That's really the key difference for advanced straight lettering. Okay. Thank you so much for following along. I'll see you in class.